leave like a canvas sack and like an empty pack of cigarettes hanging there, right? Remember, because he didn't where he hid his cigarettes too, right? Yeah.
Somebody just took that and just dumped that somewhere, and I'm like, oh, it's a piece of Hollywood history,
Or
and like
somebody like you and me found out, and it's sitting in their backyard. Who knows? No! Hello, friends and relishes out there. Welcome to another episode of the Scary Movie Project, the podcast where we talk about scary movies. I am your host, Matt, and today we're going to have a lot of fun with my good friend J.W. Ocker, who's on the show for the third or fourth or however many times. We'd love to have him on all the time, quite frankly. But we're going to do something fun today. I love like movie locations, right? We all do, right? All of us horror fans especially love, movie locations. So, shameless plug promotion for you, JW here. Everyone should read the New England Grimpendium, which you penned in 2010, the year of our Lord 2010. And
a million years ago, right?
A minute ago, as the kids say. And there's you have like a chapter in here basically about New England horror movie locations, right? And you got a big chunk in there. So I want to go over a bunch, but say hi, tell everyone hello, and then tell everyone what you're doing out there.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on again. This is a topic that's particularly close to my heart. Like you said,
good.
When I put out the New England Grimpendium, I'd only been living here for like 2 years, maybe less than that, year and a half at the time. And just, I was surprised the publisher let me put that section in there, right? Because it's such a weird niche thing to visit movie filming locations. Most people don't do that. Like you said, it's mostly horror movie fans.
I think you and I find it probably so normal, but people don't care. They really don't.
I try to figure that out, like, because I love movies. We all love movies. I also love the making of movies. The making of movies is fascinating. Like how you this giant tactical and artistic exercise of fouling all these people to make this thing.
Yes.
And the fact that it happens in a physical space that you can visit boggles my mind. So every single time I watch a movie, like within 5 minutes, I'm pausing it and be like, okay, where was this shot? What is it? Is it Canada? So I kind of rule it out. It's always Canada.
Yeah, a lot of it is, right?
Yeah, I actually tried.
Or Georgia.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We get a lot of Georgia these days. So, and what it does is you go visit them, right? And you see like the lay of the land. And it always looks different, right? Because, the frame cuts off so much.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, you're in this place where the magic happened. The movie was made here. And then you go home and you watch the movie again and you have this new relationship to it, right? It's almost like a home video. Like, oh, I've been there. I know exactly what that's like. I know what's on the other side of the frame there. So I don't know. There's something about going to these places. They're very like sacred almost. That a movie was shot there makes them sacred. And I want to go see every single one. So.
Yeah, no, and it is because, a good example of this, we did Amityville month last month and or back in November, and it's one of those things too where it's like you talk about the Amityville house. I went there years ago. I was there for maybe 15, 20 minutes getting photos, whatever. But during that time, 3 or 4 people drove and stopped and put their windows down. Like these places mean something. People want to go. Yeah, it's not just us. There's a lot of people that want to go see these places.
Yeah, it makes it real. It makes it something. It's just, I don't know. It just, I love it. Again, when I pitched it to the publisher, like they had no problem with like graves and historic sites and all that, but like the filming locations, I had to pitch a little harder. And I'm just like, and these days, of course, again, like everything else gets more and more mainstream. These days, you can't like go anywhere on the internet with like without 200 movies that were filmed in New Hampshire, 60 movies are from Rhode Island.
Right.
It's just I don't know. It's a layer of history, right? Something happened here. That's all it is at the end of the day. It's a layer of history.
Well, you where I live, and you used to be local to the area. I mean, like The Exorcist. I mean, I live 15 minutes away from Georgetown. I take people on tours there for it all the time. Like that to me, I could live to be 175 years old, and I would never get tired of going to see the house and the stairs. Like I would never get tired of that.
Same.
Right?
So that's a good example. I have pictures of me at the stairs. Every 10 years. I used to work in Arlington, which is across the river, and my window of my office, you could see the stairs.
That's right. You told me,
a black line in the cliff. You couldn't even see the. And these days, right? So that was back in the day, right? You go there, and most of the people at the stairs are joggers, right? They're using it for exercise. Yeah. And then today you go, and there's a plaque there. They've officially hallowed it.
I was there that night when that was dedicated, and it was wonderful.
Did you? I had a friend there as well. He sent me the brochure or whatever they passed out.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I haven't. William Friedkin and William Peter Blatty were there, and I had one of them sign. Yes, it was fabulous.
That's awesome. That was awesome.
Yes.
I read one article about somebody visiting the steps, and Friedkin was there. He just
Yeah.
like the guy was just visiting the steps as well.
Really?
And, like, recognized him, but then he heard his voice. Like, oh, that's William Friedkin. And so just meeting the guy at the steps, man, that's really awesome, man.
That's incredible.
That might be the origin of my horror movie filming site obsession, because
absolutely.
I lived there.
Yes.
I lived there in the area. DC was my city. And then the Exorcist stairs are such a thing, right? It's not just,
everyone knows. Even if you haven't seen the movie, you know they were in this movie called The Exorcist, right? Yes.
The Exorcist stairs.
Yes.
And it's a thing. It's a physical thing. It looks scary. It meets your expectations. Like, I know in the movie they kind of like extended it by just editing it, but it's a very tall set
pretty accurate.
Yeah. So it meets your expectations, and like it's physical. You're like there with it. You're taking the steps of Father Karras. So that might have been the one that like got me turned on to horror filming locations.
And then, of course, it's local too for us. Then years later, Blair Witch Project, of course. So we love visiting everywhere in Maryland, right? So
that's right. And I lived in an apartment across the street from one of those.
You were in one of the diner where
Mommer's Diner. Mommer's Diner. I was in Brunswick, Maryland, and I moved there after they filmed it, but it was like right. I could see it out my window, and it just seemed like such a.
It's very cool.
Whatever, interesting thing. I always still tell people. I live next door to the Blair Witch, or I live next town.
That's awesome. I would absolutely, So you want to dive into some of these?
Oh yeah, we got to get to New England, right?
So I got besides where we live, we're done with that topic. All right, so I wrote down ones that I like. Okay, so we'll talk about this part deeper in this. Well, I guess I can mention right off the bat. This is Friday the 13th, part 2 you mentioned, which is in Preston, Connecticut. And I'll just tag and make a shout out. So I think I told everyone, if you pay attention on everything I posted, I went to up in New Jersey to the tour where they shot the original Friday the 13th back in October. Awesome. On Friday, October 13th, it was fabulous. That was really cool. So check out crystallaketours.com. Check them out if you guys want to go on these tours. They're quite often, and they're a lot of fun. Anyway, but so part 2, I've never been, but only like a couple scenes, like the tow truck, the opening scenes right in the movie.
Yeah, there's a few sites. So I think there's 3. So Friday the 13th part 2, just to level set everybody, even though probably people don't need that. This is the movie where Jason's actually in it. he doesn't have a hockey mask yet. He's a sack-headed Jason.
That's right. The sack with the one eye.
It's right, the one eye. And they filmed it in Connecticut, and it's filmed like the lodges, the cabin it was filmed at. That's in Connecticut as well. Private property, you can't get to it. It's called Preston Ledge. I think there's a diner at some point they were in that burned down years ago, so that's not there. So really, the only site you can go to that's like recognizable and experienceable, which is the important parts, right, of a movie filming site, is basically the very first scene where the two whatever counselors, they come into town, they park their car, they go to a phone booth to like find out where the camp is. And then I think they run into Crazy Ralph. Ralph there.
Yes.
Crazy Ralph.
He's still around. Yeah.
Still around. He's not for long.
Not for long.
And then they their car. You can see in the background is getting towed.
Yes.
And tows it around the corner, and then it turns out it's a prank from their friend. That really weird dude is pranking them in a very weird way.
Yes.
But so as you go there today, that downtown area is still laid out the exact same way. But and I was actually just there last week, honestly, when I was doing a road trip. It's there's the gas station is missing there, but the buildings are all the same. The building that Crazy Ralph was at, they're all different colors, of course, been painted over the years. And we're talking 1981 that came out. So that's like almost 50 years away, dude. That's how old Friday the 13th is.
Thank you for making me old, by the way.
It's a black and white movie, man. It's like a silent film. But so that's all, that layout's all there. The telephone booth is gone, of course, because that's old tech. But the spot where it was, you can still stand there and kind of get the same camera angles. My favorite part about it, though, is so it's really quick. It's a really quick visit, right? You don't have to like sit there and
it's
still frames out and try to measure it up. You just go, you're there, and then you go watch the movie. But right around the corner where the tow truck pulled the car, I actually at one point in time when I was writing A Season with the Witch back in 2015 when I was writing it, I had to interview a woman who wrote a book about the witch trials. And I was like, okay, she was British, she actually lived in England. I'm like, so can we just give you a call? I'll stay up whatever time is normal for you in the overseas. Like, oh no, I spend summers in Connecticut. So you want to just meet in Connecticut? I'm like, yes. Turns out she lived right there, like right where the tow truck parked. She was in that house, and she had no idea. Obviously, she's like, she was a couple decades older than me.
Yeah, right. She didn't care.
Probably much better taste in movies, and also British. So she had no idea that she like her house is part of this. That
She watches folk horror. She's British, of course, right?
That's right. She's like, have you seen The Wicker Man? So, which is again, that's a site I've always wanted to go to.
Oh
See,
man,
the feet are still there. The two, like,
I would love to see that.
That'd be awesome. So yeah, so that's it. That's the only thing in Preston, Connecticut. That's the only thing you can really see is that downtown area. But again, you put that on a stop, on a road trip. You find yourself in the neighborhood. That changes that part of the movie for you. Again, that's my even though part two has always been one of my favorites, probably top three. But and now again, every time I watch that scene, I'm like, man, I stood right there 45 years later, but also 35 years later and 38 years later.
That is cool.
So I think again, that's what you're gonna see, that downtown area. And again, that makes Jason kind of a New Englander. His first movie was filmed in New England.
Hey, about that, right? So yeah, that's it's a little scene, but that is cool that it's in there, right? And you figure after all so many they made, they'd make more stuff that in that area, but I guess not. All right, here is a movie I love. Now you can call it a horror film. I don't know what you want to. It's a drama. This is a very polarizing film because of subject matter, whatever. But The Good Son, I love that movie.
I think people sleep on The Good Son. I think people forget about it. Again, when it came out, which was like 93, right? In the 90s somewhere?
1993, yeah.
It's Macaulay Culkin, right? He's already gotten famous, although he's just doing Home Alone. And people thought of it kind of as a stunt. Oh, now he's doing a bad kid.
This is not Home Alone.
It's a good movie, though. If you watch it now, like the space of time away from Macaulay Culkin, like Elijah Wood, these are child actors. They're like 12 years old. Do awesome. Macaulay Culkin is chilling in this movie. He is
a terrifying little child, and people, I get why they don't want to watch this. I've heard so many, this is trash, this is what I get that, but you know what? I'm sorry, I love it. Like, I think it's awesome.
It's good. I mean, it's written by a famous British novelist. It's no Ian, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but it's written by an actual novelist. And it's, again, they kill a dog in this movie. They try to kill a child. Like it is a real movie.
If nothing else, I think you actually wrote this, and I agree with it totally. If nothing else besides content, the scenery is beyond beautiful, right?
That's right. That's right.
So
they film most of it in my state of New Hampshire here.
There you go. So I did most of my homework, and I finally years ago found the house, which is, I mean, it's the greatest house like ever, right? Sitting on the bay on the water. I finally drove to that house and I have a bunch of photos. That is one of the most affluent little neighborhoods I think I've ever driven in. Besides that, if you've ever been out to Seattle, where Kurt Cobain's house is, by Lake Wash. So same kind of deal. These aren't people making $50,000 a year living in that neighborhood, I can tell you that much. So that neighborhood by itself is incredible, but that's where the house is in Cape Ann or Lobster Bay, or I can't remember exactly where in Massachusetts it is, though, but it's not far from Boston. You can get there quickly.
Oh, yeah, it's North Shore, right?
Right. And then New Hampshire scenes. I mean, scenery is just like, this movie is, I mean, that alone right there. Yeah. Whether you want to deal with the subject matter or not, looking at this movie, as they say, it was lensed beautifully, right?
Yeah, they actually, so like the scene where he tries to kill Connie in the ice over pond.
Yeah,
that's actually New Hampshire. That's like Christmas card, New Hampshire.
Is that right? Okay.
I actually got married up there. So like,
wow.
It was like it's like always snowy and covered bridges and decorated. It's a beautiful area. But they used that, I think it was Mirror Lake they used for the scene where they tried to kill the girl. So that's cool. One of the best scenes in there where McCulkin throws the dummy over the
Highwayman.
Highwayman, that's right.
Highwayman
causes that big pileup. That's also New Hampshire. It's up there in northern Conway area. Where it's a boring overpass. Otherwise, it's just a piece of ugly concrete infrastructure.
Right.
But McCulkin and Elijah Woods stand up there and throwing a body over. It's hilarious. But I will say my favorite scene though is where they bury the dog, right? So obviously the scene where they shoot the dog is awful.
Is that the same cemetery in Hocus Pocus, by the way?
Yes, Marblehead Cemetery.
Marblehead
Cemetery where his face got his sneakers stolen by the police.
Ice, whatever. Wasn't his name Ice or something? Yeah.
Ice took his sneakers right there in Marblehead Cemetery.
Yes,
it's a beautiful cemetery. It's a very
and
it's also one of the side effects of going to these places. You find really cool places, right? It's on a hill. It's got rocks everywhere. It's got levels to the cemetery because it's on this hill. It overlooks the water because again it's also on Cape Ann.
Yeah,
and right beside Salem. It's the next city over from Salem.
Yeah, it's right there. Right.
And the scene it's a very short scene. They've killed a dog and they're carrying
with the freaking crossbow. By the way, no, a bolt gun that he like builds himself.
That's right. It looks like it's a military
this
grave.
Kid is twisted.
Yeah. And he's sitting with his eyes closed, and he's just like so like into the moment. Oh, no, it's so good. And Elijah Wood's wide-eyed innocence, his shock.
Oh yeah, he's just so naive.
So perfect. So anyway, so they kill this dog, and they're taking this dog to bury it. They gotta get rid of the body, right?
Yeah.
So they go to Marblehead Cemetery, and you see them running among the tombstones, this like canvas bag between them, and they find this well, and they dump it down the well.
Yeah.
So when I first visited for the New England Compendium in 2009, is when I researched it, the well was still there. It was a movie magic. It was only about 3 feet deep. It's actually, if you open that book, the New England Compendium in your hand, it's actually the cover image in the book. It's the Good Son Well. So yeah,
we have it right here.
Go for it. See if I'm lying. I might be. No.
Oh my goodness! Look at that. That's it.
Right. That's a Good Son Well right there.
Oh,
so they turned into back then they turned into a planter basically, because again it was only 3 feet deep. And so then I always tell people the Good Son Well. And then in 2015, when I was living in Salem writing the Season with the Witch, I was like, oh, obviously I got to go next door to Marblehead because there's a witch memorial there and some other stuff. And I go there and I'm like, oh, obviously I'm gonna stop by the Good Son Well. And I couldn't find it. I was like, wait, am I wrong? Do I have things like, so I was like looking around, I was like, had pictures. I opened that book. I was like looking in the book at my photos and saying, am I just triangulating this wrong? Couldn't find it. Thought I found a spot. So I contacted the local historical society. And they're like, oh, yeah, we got rid of that. I'm like,
what? Why?
Well, it was apparently purpose-built for the movie. It wasn't a feature
of no kidding.
Graveyard. Yeah, so literally we were walking around a Hollywood prop that entire time.
That's awesome. It was there for quite a while then.
Yes, decades.
Yeah.
And had I known that, or that they were getting rid of it, I would have taken that. Are you kidding me? Give me these stones.
Oh, my God,
rebuild it in my backyard, turn into a fire pit. Just like whatever, cook s'mores over the Good Son.
Well, you know, you would just leave like you leave like a canvas sack and like an empty pack of cigarettes hanging there, right? Remember, because he didn't where he hid his cigarettes too, right? Yeah.
You know, somebody just took that and just dumped that somewhere, and I'm like, oh, it's a piece of Hollywood history, you know.
Or
like,
somebody like you and me found out, and it's sitting in their backyard. Who knows?
That'd be awesome. That'd be a happily ever.
You know what? If anyone's listening to either one of the stuff or read stuff you or I do, if you're out there, we're not going to come and steal it from you, but we want to know if you have it. We just want to know.
Tell us you're taking care of it. Tell us you're taking care of it.
Please. So, and I think the one cool part, that cliff that the mother goes to like think or whatever, that's in like Minnesota though, right? That's not.
Yeah, they always do that. It's like it's always whatever. They film a scene that's flatland, and then they need a cliff, so they go to Hawaii or they go to a place. Right. It's like a geographic dissonance, but
you could buy it in the sense that it takes place in Maine, very rocky coast, but whatever.
True.
So
you could definitely not a sheer 100, 200-foot cliff.
No,
like
not that. That's a pretty big drop, and as we see at the end, things don't go well. So
you always laugh like this time of year. You watch, whatever National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, right? And it takes place in Chicago, whatever. But when they go get the tree, there are giant mountains in the background, which Chicago doesn't have. They're obviously in Colorado filming this one scene. And it's just so cool to see that.
Well, it's like when you watch Halloween, right? And, there's palm trees everywhere. And Dr. Loomis is at the, he's out there on the phone and there's mountains. There's no mountains in Illinois.
That's right. No, catching a palm tree is my favorite. It's my favorite activity.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, we all love that movie to death. Nothing, no offense, but so this is kind of like part like 1A almost to this one is obviously so Hocus Pocus, right?
Yes.
Because that we just said that takes place in Marblehead. That obviously they filmed a ton of this in Salem, which you are the go-to Salem guy. So
yeah,
I have been. I've been to I think every spot. I don't know if I've been to every spot. Rope's Mansion and the house down by the water. It's so funny because that house looks so like regal, and it's sitting by this kind of nasty spot of like not a sewer, but it's not all that nice in person. No, really.
No, so that scene. So I wrote an article visiting those a long time ago. I'd probably say over a decade ago, and I got more attention for that than probably any of most other articles I've ever written about all oddities ever. Period.
Yeah.
And these days, it's almost a tradition for every single online publication to put out a review of Hocus Pocus sites.
That movie gets more popular every year, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It burgeoned. I don't know.
It's amazing.
I think it's because back in the day before streaming and before everybody cut their cable, it would just run on Freeform and Fox Family before that.
You're right. Fox Family. Wow. Nice. Yeah, like that.
Way back, huh? And you end up watching the whole thing over the course of the Halloween, a piece here, a piece there on accident. And by the end of the season, you're like, oh, I watched it 8 times somehow. It's out of order.
They used to show Sleepy Hollow all the time. They don't do that anymore. It's just like, no, man.
So yeah, and that's a good one because again, that's a situation where you're visiting Salem. You're there for Salem, but while you're there, you accidentally pass by filming sites. That's like right. You said, The Ropes Mansion, which is a historical site you go to just because it's the Ropes Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the site where the Danny had her high end party, right? The very snobby party, Halloween
That's
party.
Right. That's right.
The school where they all get like killed to death. That's right
Yeah.
there on the common. That's right there. You walk by it on accident. There, the house you said is in the neighborhood. It's about a couple miles outside of town.
Yeah, it's a few miles. Yeah.
The opening scene where they're in like colonial era Salem.
Where is that?
That's in a park not too far away from the house. It's called it's a
it's like a reenactment thing or something.
It's a reenactment town, right? So they
I
always
have not been there.
It's really easy to get to. It's got a parking lot by it. You can't get inside of it usually because it's usually locked up, but they do events there all the time. They do like flea markets. They did in Halloween. They do some. They let you go through and you do hear little stories and they tell little ghost stories in each little because they have little
very cool
out of it basically. So, but you can see everything through the fence. You don't have to like wait for it to be open. You can just and it's on the beach. There's a little beach there. So that's a big one. I think that's most of them. I think everything else was L.A.
Yeah, soundstage stuff, right?
Oh, Marblehead we talked about, but yeah, the rest was soundstage.
How autumnal is that opening scene at that reenactment park? Oh, I mean, it oozes like this is Halloween, right?
Yeah, it feels. If you're there, it feels like that place. It's very
incredible.
accurate to like what it is. Although when they do the flyover, they do that. It's like from Vermont forward. It's actually was it Plymouth Plantation? They're actually flying over Plymouth Plantation because that's a reenactment village that's much bigger.
I love reenactment villages. Yeah, they're the best.
They are. Cool. But it's the same reenactment village where they filmed what's that movie with Julian Sands? The Warlock. So they filmed at Plymouth Plantation as well. So that's another doubler for you. You can go to Plymouth Plantation, get your history, but also know that the Warlock and Hocus Pocus both filmed there.
We're big advocates on this program too about visiting Salem, and obviously you should go. I have not been in 4 or 5 maybe more years now. I feel terrible. I got to go back soon.
These days I'm there probably once a week.
Yeah, you're there once a week, exactly. You're regular. So I just haven't gotten a chance to get up there in quite a while, but maybe in the spring again. So
I'll take you around, man.
Yeah, we got to set. So we should make a tour. Everyone come join us. It'll be great. We'll all go to Salem. That's right. I don't know if I can do in October like you've done. I don't think I can handle that mass hysteria though. I don't know about that.
These days, the only way I can handle it is because I have friends that live there. So I just stay at their houses. If I have to, I park at their house. Okay,
yeah.
I can get around. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't go like a random like weeknight maybe or any kind of morning I'd go. But like it's hard to find. It's hard not to have a frustrating experience in Salem in October. It's all the wrong times. Yeah,
because you want to see the history, and it just becomes this almost just I don't want to say insult, but almost just this reality of you're not even there for the real reason. It's just this out of control party. But anyway, but I love it. We love to go there. So all right, so check this one. This is a good one. I realized I do a monthly review on my other website, and I actually did the Gates of Hell trilogy by Lucio Fulci, right, and his 3 films. And one of them is the last one is The House by the Cemetery.
It's a great one. I've watched that one so many times. And that's another thing that happens when you're scouting locations is you end up watching the movie a bunch of times. It just naturally. So it becomes a favorite movie. Or even if you don't like the movie, by the time you're done scouting, you love the movie. So but A House by the Cemetery you love right away. It's just like classic 80s Italian New England horror.
His stuff, you know what, and that's what I wrote about. So I did all of them, The Gates of Hell, the Beyond, and then this one is his trilogy, right? Script, I mean, forget it, right? It's just not there. You have to understand it's an Italian film. There's overdubbing. You have to get past that stuff, but you've got to look at it in its context, right? And it is beautiful. I mean, it is beautiful. It is surreal. You live in this surreal world where it's dreamlike, and the lenses and the cams and the shots and the violence is just unbelievable. Tarantulas eating people but they live in this amazing, spooky, crazy house. Like the movie's just so silly, right? They live in this made up town in New England. So what was the name of the town they moved to in the film? What is it?
In the film? It escapes me. I know that in real life it's Scituate.
Scituate, right. So then they moved to this town and all these nonsense things happen. And anyway, like we said, but get past that stuff, find the fun in it. But so that is it Concord or it's in Scituate, the house actually that they
Scituate. It's in Scituate. It's really cool. It's like I don't know architectural styles, but it's a very distinct house. Like it's got like that tall column. It's
big.
It's big. It's got the big column to it. It's got unique architecture. The roof line is very unique.
Yeah.
These days, I think last time I was there, it's an arts collective, so it's like headquarters to something.
Okay, so it is like it's not just some house rotting away in the middle of
No,
the neighborhoods. Okay,
not at all. In fact, it's like painted these. I think in the movie it was like this like dingy white, like
it's
peeling
white.
white.
Yeah.
Now it's like multicolored. There's no cemetery on the grounds. However,
No, there isn't,
there's a
right?
cemetery down the road, so it technically is
Okay.
still a house by a cemetery.
Okay.
But it's cool again, and that Situate's awesome. Again, you're on the shore of Massachusetts. Like, where else do you want to be?
Do you know then at the very ending when they're walking away, then at the end the little boy and the girl and was that shot on the street then, or is that somewhere else? I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't looked
Uh,
at that. I will
no.
now.
It might
Now I have
it might
watching.
just be establishing exteriors that they use it for. That may be all it was. But yeah, those movies they're wild. I mean,
But again,
overall
I
I
love what you
like
said.
them.
I like what you said. Like, it's dreamlike. It is dreamlike. Just the way they make movies
Yes.
back then was dreamlike. And again, it's a bunch of
Yes.
Italian people coming to Massachusetts and filming what they
Yes.
think is an American horror film.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, they don't record in Italy back then. They did not record dialogue. That came afterwards.
Yep.
And it's just and that's what I want from a movie. I want a movie to make me feel like it's a different world. I don't want it to be like
Yeah.
too like obvious, too shiny. I don't want it to be too clean and
Real
too
like now.
I want it to be like off centered a little bit.
Well, it's definitely offset in the fact that when they drive to the towns they go to meet with, I forget, the bank or something, and they just leave their little 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid in the car. We'll be back. See you later.
Different times. Kids were tougher back then.
Oh my goodness, we had talked earlier about Silent Night, Deadly Night, and how we were laughing at the scene too with the kids in the car and the mom just holding the baby in the front seat. There's no car seat. No, we don't need any of that stuff. It's all good.
That's right.
But yeah, those movies are definitely So here you go. Very Lovecraftian. Did you say that's a pretty good way to put some of the way those movies feel like? I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the coast of Massachusetts is right in Lovecraft's head when he was like making stuff. So I think that's definitely dead on.
That's good. Sorry. So here's one that I feel like I've been to a lot of places, the movies that I love, and this one seems obvious that I probably should have been. I don't know why I haven't been, considering all the times I go up to New England, but I have never been to Martha's Vineyard where they shot Jaws. Oh, why have I not
That's because
gone
you have to plan it. You can't just jump in your car and drive.
Yeah, you have to take a boat, right? And I'm not the world's biggest fan of boats and water or so, but anyway.
So I've done it a couple of times, and it's not too bad. Again, I'm the same way. I'm like, I take a ferry somewhere. I'm just gonna. It's too much trouble to get.
So
a ticket.
where do you catch it from then?
I can't remember the town, but it's just on the edge of Mount, just below Cape Cod. So it's not hard to get to where the ferry landing.
And how long is it's like what, hour?
Like,
not even.
Not even an hour. No, I would say
Okay.
Maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Oh,
there's places you can go sit down. They have snack bars. It's not hardcore. And then the big decision you're going to make is, am I driving onto the ferry or am I walking onto the ferry? Right.
Oh,
that's your decision.
You can put your car on it, right?
That's right. So if you don't,
Okay.
if you walk onto it, obviously it's a much cheaper ticket. But you have to take buses everywhere, and the buses on Martha's Vineyard are easy. They stop anywhere, and you can jump on, jump off anywhere. So but pay whatever double, and you can take a. Then you could drive around. It's a tiny island. There's not a lot of roads.
So how much could you walk around, or do you need some other sort of transportation?
There's a town right at the landing in Martha's Vineyard. Oak Bluffs, I believe, is the town. You can walk around that town, but you do probably need transportation. Okay. If you have a bicycle, that's perfect. That's all you need. Okay. But you do need something to get to the Jaws town. That's Edgartown. That's just that's the next town over, but it's the distance of 2 towns. So in a car, it's minutes, but like you're not walking that. Okay. So you start in Oak Bluffs, and then you end up in Edgartown, which is where like the town scenes are, where Brody's walking around. And then between Oak Bluffs and Edgartown is Jaws Bridge, right? So this is the bridge where Jaws actually comes in. This is where Rob Schneider runs along the quay. Every year they do a bunch of kids jump off it and call it the Jaws drop or something like that. Yeah. It's not a very noticeable bridge. First time I tried to find the bridge, I drove right over it, not realizing it was a Jaws bridge because it's not like this big elegant thing.
Oh, it's not. Yeah.
Like just like a piece of road that's just elevated. But and I think since then they've actually rebuilt it. Actually, since the New England Compendium, they rebuilt it so it doesn't look exactly the same. So it's a little bit off-putting. But the quay is still there. The beach where that all thing happened, where the sharks came in, and his son's on that skiff or whatever on the water, right? Yeah. That's all right there. That's all still there. And that's pretty much all there. I mean, the entire movie was filmed there. But again, whatever, X% of the movie takes place on the water, and it's not really a movie filming site.
Yeah.
So you're like in the town. You're on Jaws Bridge. And there used to be on the opposite side of the island, there was a pond slips on my Nemisha, it's like some hard to pronounce pond stuff to M. And for decades and decades, there was a stunt orca ground there.
Really?
So basically, it's a boat they used to stand in the place of the orca.
That's awesome.
Do whatever, and it just sat there rotting for decades. And I always wanted to go see it, but by the time I went to go see it, the owner of the property had finally dismantled it because it was just rotting literally since 1975.
That sucks. Right? Yes, no one can take care of it.
Another good son kind of situation. But again, if you go there and you have a car, I also just say while you're there, you have to go see Wes Craven's grave because that's where he's buried as well.
Is that right? I think I did hear that. Yes. Okay. All right. So that's, I mean, what more reason do you need to go than Jaws? But okay, that would be great.
That's right. It's like a horror island now. It's like Wes Craven.
Seriously. Where's what cemetery is he buried in?
It's in the northernmost arc of it. Again, Martha's Vineyard is tiny, so you're the only problem with the roads is you have to go very, very slow speed. But you'll accidentally be there. It's only minutes from Oak Bluffs, like literally you're there in seconds. He's easy to find. You can actually see his grave from the road. It's a naturalistic looking rock with his name on it. Very simple, actually, underneath a tree. And on the back of it is engraved, "I'll be right back." You know, from screen.
Yeah.
It's a really cool site. It's very humble. It's not at all. It doesn't look like the grave of a horde. You know, one of the best horde directors of all time.
Not extravagant, yeah.
Exactly, but right there, it's hard to get to though. You have to plan it. You have to plan it to go see it. It's not just like a random jump.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, I would definitely next time I go, I'm gonna put that on hopefully on the list. But so, how does the town? Because so many of these places, don't like things like this and. Are they totally like, yes, we are where Jaws was filmed and that's what we are and we're cool with it? Or like, I mean, do they advertise it? I mean, I don't know.
So the interesting thing is I've only been there during the wintertime because it's less crowded. The rates things are still open in the wintertime, but they're not doing the full like whatever. Everybody's there for the beaches and like the presidents.
So the ferries they do run then in the winter. Okay, I went. So a lot of those places off season they don't run them. So that's okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, and then you're down to yourself. A lot of the places are open. The only so I bring that because the only thing I saw that even announced that Jaws was filmed there was the local bookstore had copies of Peter Benchley's Jaws in the window. So that was the one thing I saw publicly where they admitted it, but I'm sure they love it. I think they do.
They're kind of aloof. They're just like, hey, it's just this is what it is. We don't really care though, right? Yeah,
that's true. But the beauty of it too is it's Jaws, right? It's not just some rando horror movie. This is like a classic of American cinema. So
this is the film that invented the summer blockbuster. This is it.
That's right.
Yeah,
very important film. It's like having Citizen Kane film in your town, remember? So you don't have to be like, oh, you're here to see Friday the 13th 2 scenes. Like, why are you doing that? Jaws. They'll get that.
Yeah, it's like we talking about Exorcist stairs. Even if you haven't seen the movie, those are the stairs from this film. Like that's what it is.
That's right.
I've got now. Did they do part 2 anything from the film there? Do you know or not?
You know what? I've never even looked that up. That's so funny.
You know what? I've only seen bits and pieces of the sequels. I mean, nothing is as terrible, of course, as that part 3 when the shark is like stop motion, slowly moving into the glass with Dennis Quaid and it explodes. Like, really, come on.
Yeah, I think I've seen all the sequels once each. And I've seen the first one like 1,000 times, right?
Jaws is that movie where it's like the topic is a shark, and it is Jaws, and that's it. There is I don't need any other films about it. I really don't. That is it. I mean, that is it. That is the beginning and the end for me. All right, so the last one that I have written down, one of my favorite films, Pet Sematary. So my favorite book by King, I think I've read it 3 times now. And so it is in, I think, a town called Hancock, Maine. Is that right?
That's where the house is, yes.
Right. So the house from the film. Now, my understanding is, I don't know if you've read into this or I forget if you wrote that in there. They so it's an old blueberry farm up on a hill is where they built the Micmac Burial Ground. Is that correct?
It's kind of, I think it's also a quarry. So here's the beauty of it. So I just recently been to that for the first time 2 months ago.
Okay.
It is one of the most, so I guess let me do them in order of importance, right? So like,
go ahead.
Mention the Hancock house, right? That's where
that's still there and everything. Someone lives there.
That's where Gage got run over. The house
tire swing,
still there.
Everything.
That's right. So it's all there. The cemetery, Mount Hope Cemetery, where he's buried. Go there. That's where Stephen King did his scene. He was the preacher ever doing the service.
Right.
So you can it's really easy to trace because the cemetery is flat. There's a giant hill in the middle of it, and you know exactly where Stephen King stood. You know exactly where Gage was buried and unburied. So that's all. It's all easy to find.
Bust you out, son.
That's right. But I've been to both those places a lot, but I'd never been to Micmac Burial Ground. So this is my first time. It is amazing. So I drove. I was with a friend, and we drove there. And to get to it, there's no road. There's a road that goes past it, and these are massive fields. They're like wild blueberry fields.
Yeah,
These wild blueberry fields have giant stone patches in the middle of them, like balding spots that are made of stone.
Yeah.
And in fact, that burial ground that you see in the movie with the little stones are built on top of a slab of stone that's easy to find.
Yeah.
But I drove there, and I saw this turnoff to get there, and I turned off, and it was a dry riverbed or something, and I literally ripped the skid plate out from under my car. It looked like I had run over Freddy Krueger. It was just ripped up metal and bolts. But I couldn't stop. It was there. It was in Maine. I was gonna do it. So then we got out and walked the last mile, but it is amazing. It's it's beautiful. It's got this vista. You can go right there. The big giant rock they passed to get there is right there. It's almost exactly the same way it was in the movie.
That is incredible. I would bring my drone and get I would get just I'd want to get an hour of footage with that. Oh my God.
It's a perfect spot for a drone. It's isolated. There's a few, when we were there, some kind of four-legged animal dashed up the road in front of it, a large one. I'm not sure if it's a bobcat or what. But
it could be the undead.
It could be. But
it could be church. It could have been church.
That's right. He's still alive. Right? So yeah, no, so every once in a while, right, you go to these filming locations, you're like you said, it's in a yucky place, it's not that cool. Micmac Burial Ground is super cool. It's worth going to see. The entrance to it is actually in a different spot, like it's a couple of towns over. It's actually behind an elk lodge, and it's just a little patch of forest the width of 2 acres. And you can barely tell that it's the entrance, but if you line up the trees, the shots, you can tell. But the Micmac Burial Ground itself is like probably one of my favorite Stephen King filming sites in Maine.
Did you ever see Unearthed and Untold: The Path to Pet Cemetery, the documentary?
I did.
Fantastic. So the woman that kind of like tended to the real Pet Cemetery, I guess is the spot you're talking about, is in there. Yeah, that was amazing. That's what they talk about. So the house in Ellsworth or whatever, the Hancock, obviously Judd's creepy house is not real. Is there a house actually across the street though, or is there just nothing?
There is a house across the street, and at the time for Judge, they just wrapped
built the facade, right?
That's right.
Okay,
these days, though, it's literally, I don't know if it's owned by the same people, but it matches the main house across the street. They're both like yellow.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, there is a house there, and they use that house, but that's what they wrapped, and a facade is that house. And it used to be, like, when I used to visit, 5 years ago, there was a child crossing sign right there where Cage Creed got killed. This time I went, and it was gone, because I went last month. It was gone, but what we did see was giant brake marks all down this road where somebody had slammed on their brakes, and then while we were standing there,
scary.
Big truck came by. This massive truck just came rumbling by us, and we're like, oh,
this come by all night. Yeah,
exactly. This is it. This is what it feels like.
Oh God. So I have this weird thing, like, I know this, I'm sorry if it's twisted, I don't know, it's a weird thing, right? Like, I would never want to bury a person or my pet in the pet cemetery, but I mean, eventually when I get up there, I have this thought of mine to bring a little bit of ash from my dog that passed away a few years ago and just kind of scatter it in the air at the Micmac Burial Ground.
That's not a bad idea.
Just for the hell of it, right? You know what I mean? Just to do it. Yeah.
That's not a bad idea, man. So, I like it. It's got style.
So here's the question, I guess, is you were talking about getting there in the road. When you tried to get there, was there anyone in Maine that you saw that said, you can't get there from here?
No, I saw no maniacs at all over there.
Yeah. Oh God. So yeah, that was, and then they shot this, the sequel, which I had this weird kind of love-hate with the sequel, but that was Georgia. So that wasn't Maine. So
I will say though, Judd, Herman Munster, Fred Gwynn, he's buried in Maryland. He's buried where you are.
So I drove out after reading what you wrote that one time on a random Sunday years ago. I had nothing to do, and I drove out to see where he was buried. Yes, I did, and that was
one day. One day it'll have a headstone, but not yet.
Yeah, not much was going. I don't even remember the town it was in, but it was like an hour or something away, and yeah, it was like, okay, here's where Judd was buried. Cool. Now I'm going home.
That's exactly what you do.
There were so many you put in here, and those are the ones that I love. But then, again, this is written a minute ago, as we said. We've discussed Lords of Salem before in this program. Check that episode out. But there were two you mentioned to me that I didn't even think about since then. So what were the two you had thought of that you want to bring up? Because I love these.
Yeah, so I didn't stop visiting filming locations when that book came out. I kept going. It's been 10, 13 years of me doing it still. The two I brought up to you are two that I visited in the last year. They are both Ty West movies.
Ty West. Love him.
I do too. He's such a, again, a little bit polarizing in the horror community, just because, he's a slow burn guy. He loves his movies to take their time.
It's fine by me.
But once if you're into him, you are into him, and I'm into him. I love like the Innkeepers. I love a lot. Just such a simple premise that just is so well executed. And then House of the Devil is it's a throwback movie, so it looks like it was filmed in the 2000s, but it looks like it was filmed in the 80s, but the real 80s, not neon and punks with mohawks and boomboxes. We're talking brown panel and shag carpet. So real 80s.
I don't know if you listened. So Tara and I did an episode on this years ago. I don't know if you listened to it or if I tell you that movie got me so good, right? Years ago, back when MTV used to show like Friday night horror film. This is a thing they did. And I was really tired. I was passing out one night and I see this film come on with Dee Wallace, right? Like I've met Dee Wallace at horror shows. I'm almost like first name basis, like, hey, how's it going? And I'd seen a lot of her stuff, but I see she's in this film called The House of the Devil. And, these 80s graphics are on the screen and they're dressed like, and I'm like, damn, I've never heard of this old movie. What is this movie? He got me good. Because the next morning I had to get up and look it up. And it's like, no, it was made in 2000, whatever. And I was just like, this is genius. This dude has got me. This is, when you get me, like you hook me in with something like that, I'm all in. I mean,
so good.
The pizza place with like the red cups and everything. Oh, dude.
No, and nothing happened. Again, it's hard to bring somebody to watch the movie with you because nothing happens for the first 90% of the movie. Yeah, and that's the point, though. It's like this woman, this college co-ed that tries to get a babysitting job. It's the entire movie. And then whatever, it goes bonkers toward the end, but like,
yes, it does.
You're sitting there going, like, this feels like the 80s. Like, so
it's perfect. It was so well done.
So I did this thing where I watched the movie one night with my daughter. Friday night, we watched the movie. She's 14 now, 14 today actually. And then the next morning, and this is what I love about this activity. It makes the movie so real. Watch it Friday night. Saturday morning, we go see where it was filmed. Right?
That's awesome.
It's so good, right? It makes it an event. It's not just like a kill time with a movie. It's an event. And this part, it's like Western Connecticut. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours for me.
So it takes place in Connecticut. So it actually is like local. It is almost legit then, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. No, it's so, and everything in there is visible. So the college, I can't remember the name of the college, but it's there. You can track down every step she laid on,
that's awesome.
Course she went through. The house is there. But the house is just, it's set back from the road a bit, but it's in a neighborhood. Clearly, it's very, very, very ornate house. It's really awesome. Then where else can you go?
The cemetery they go
cemetery is right there, and you can track down to where the guy's name, just the guy from Manhunter and Monster Squad.
Yeah, the father, whatever he is.
Yeah, the very tall guy. I always forget his name. Where he gets shot. You can track down to the gravestone because like a little grave that got broken. It's like a little point.
Oh wow,
that's there. The pizza
cemetery was a cemetery where her friend Greta Gerwig got shot in the car when he walks up and just blasts her right there.
Right. Yeah. He pulls in there. You can see right where she pulled in. Like,
wow.
He uses the geography really well.
Did the pizza place is there?
A pizza place is there. So this is what makes me happy because there's something about, again, going, like you said, a lot of times you go to these places, you go see them, you leave, right? You take a photo, you leave. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
But if you can go eat at the place where they had them, that makes it like another event, right?
So like Blairstown Diner. Yeah.
Exactly. You go to the New Jersey Diner, right? So we went there. Obviously, they completely renovated to make it look 80s.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, there's no red plastic cups and like the booths are like hard red.
Old Pizza Hut, man.
Yeah, but it is a pizza joint. And it is legit. So we went in there, we ordered a pizza, we sat down approximately where they sat down, and then we pulled our phone out and just kind of played that scene while we're eating, and like it was like we're right there. We could tell the angles.
So then the question is, was the pizza terrible, like she said it was in the movie, right?
It was really good. It was really good. Although I'm really bad at pizza. Every pizza tastes good to me. But the funny thing is, we're sitting there, and of course, nothing's the same, right? Nothing's the same in the room. And then at the very, I don't know if you remember the very end of that scene. For some reason, I don't know why, it pans into this little like, whatever, 3-foot tall statue of a chef. It just kind of pans into it, freezes, and then the scene's over and it changes to another scene. That chef is there. That statue, it's right there. Like, I'm like looking at it, like, that looks familiar. Is that in the scene? And like we went and watched it, and like, oh look, there it is. Held the phone up to it and stuff. Took pictures. Cool. So that was really awesome. And the only other place that we went to, which is pretty much all the places now, is that opening shot when she tries to find her when she's looking for that apartment. and she gets the apartment for the church, and then she walks out, then bam, the house of the devil, like
she's walking away. The Super 80 with the tight zooms they used to do, and oh man, I mean,
and it freezes, and the yellow words come on. So
that's so perfect.
That is in Torrington, Connecticut, which is not too far away, and it's right there. But the thing about Torrington, Connecticut, is it's also where the Yankee Peddler Inn is, which is the inn from
the Innkeeper, right? Yep. So that is a working real like inn, yeah?
It's a real inn, but it's closed. It's been closed for years.
Oh, really?
So it's technically an abandoned inn, but the thing is, it's right in the middle of town. Like it's right in the middle of town, and you can walk. It's giant. It's large. It takes up like a block almost.
Yeah,
you walk
huge,
around it, and it's just there. It has the big, billboard on top of it still, and it's just I don't know if they shut it down and nobody's bought it to renovate it or what, but it's just sitting there empty right there on the main street of Torrington. So it's a cool site.
What year was that movie? That's been about 10 years now since that movie came out, right?
Yeah. I think so. It was before House of the Devil.
Was it empty when they shot it then?
No, it was still there because I remember when I first saw it, I did the same thing. I paused it 5 minutes in. I was like, wait, is this a real hotel or is this sets?
Right.
I knew it was an indie film, so I think it has to be a real hotel. They wouldn't have built a set for indie film. Went and found it. It's called the Yankee Peddler Inn. Like, oh, it is still... It's an active inn. I want to go get a room there, especially the room where that dead body in the tub is. I got to find out what room that is.
Yes,
and do that.
I must know.
But again, one of those things like, oh, you have to plan it and do whatever, book the night and all. And I just never got around to it. And then I remember I got the news that it closed down. I was like, oh man, I missed my chance to go stay the night there. However, I'm sure it's gonna be hard to turn it into anything but a hotel. So one day it'll open up again.
Yeah, I wonder. That's interesting. I wonder maybe they'll make nods to this and mention it in what they do. That would be very cool.
Yeah, I like it. I love it when locations do that, when they make a big some kind of deal around being a filming location. They don't make a big deal, but some kind of deal.
It brings in business because there are plenty of people like us who want to see, who definitely want to see that stuff. So
that's a layer. Again, we talked about earlier. It's a layer of history. It's like you were established in 1906, great. You got a president stay here, great, and you had a movie filmed here. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's very important. I think it's very cool. So the only state we didn't get. I mean, so we didn't do Rhode Island. I mean, now. We can talk about The Conjuring, but that obviously wasn't shot there, so that doesn't count. But I
racked my brain for Rhode Island. I couldn't find any movie I'd seen.
No, nothing, right?
It kept coming up with this movie called Exeter. I don't know if you saw this. I haven't seen this movie. It's recently made, called Exeter, and it takes place in an abandoned asylum and they used an abandoned like boarding school as a filming location, which is really cool. I love it when they do that.
That's cool.
As a result of us doing research for the podcast, I'm going to go watch this movie now and probably
exactly.
Because again, if it's a bad movie, I don't care. They filmed a movie. They filmed another reason to get out of my house and go see something. You know?
And what are our two Vermont connections? Would be what? Beetlejuice and What Lies Beneath. Is that right?
What Lies Beneath is there. Beetlejuice is there. Beetlejuice is awesome. That's East Corinth. Obviously, I was just there this summer as well because they were filming Beetlejuice 2 there.
Oh right.
So they had everything built again. So the main house, that weird house the Dietzes live in, or the Dietzes make.
Yeah.
That is not a real house. It was only
that was.
However, because I was there for the second movie filming, it was there. They built it up there.
They rebuilt it.
They rebuilt it. I got to go see it. The downtown, the bridge where
I love the overhead shot, right, where they go down the street there at the beginning, right? All that stuff. Yeah.
So that matches up. I think it's a model. Obviously, it's a model in the movie, but it matches up to the actual town.
Right.
They have facades up on some of the buildings. There's the covered bridge where the Maitlands die. Bridge, but it's not a covered bridge. So when I went through the first time, this was like 30 years after the movie, it was just this like dirt, street over a creek. But because I was there for the filming of the second movie, they rebuilt the covered bridge on top of it. That was back. The School for Girls is actual building down there. So it was a lot of fun. And the funny thing, again, when I visited there in 2009 for the book for doing the compendium, it's a ghost town. East Corinth is tiny, 7 buildings. Nobody lives there.
Just a nothing town in Vermont. Yep.
No reason to visit, right? Unless you're passing through on like some kind of foliage store. Yeah. Right. When I went this time in 2023, there were crowds of people there taking pictures of the filming. It's crazy.
Yep. It's funny how that is. I know.
Yeah. And I also got a nice perk too. So they actually filmed in this town called Melrose, Massachusetts, which is a Boston suburb.
Yep. Sure.
They apparently, so I get this call from my best friend. He's like, I think they're filming Beetlejuice, the next street over from my street. I'm like, what? And he sent me this video, and this is the middle of summertime. The entire street is decorated for Halloween, and there are like cars everywhere blocking people off. He's like, dude, you gotta come see this. And I couldn't come that night, so I went like 2 days later, and they were done filming. So they'd taken down all the Halloween stuff. However, in the backyard of one of these houses was almost a miniature version of like the Sleepy Hollow tree of Tim Burton's.
Oh,
right?
yeah. The Tree of the Dead. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It looked kind of like that. And there was this really quirky tree house built in. And obviously, it was this whole thing is a prop for the movie.
Cool.
So I got to go up, take pictures of that thing.
Oh, man.
And it was, again, just lucked out because my friend lived there. But so now, again, I have not seen this movie, Beetlejuice 2. Nobody has.
Right. No, yeah.
When it comes out, I'll be like, oh, there's the treehouse. Unless they cut the scene, there's the treehouse, whatever. So that's so much fun to do. It's just like
that's cool to see it too. Ahead of time, you see the places. Then you see a new movie you haven't seen yet, right? That's cool.
That is cool and rare, right? Because you don't always catch that they're filming in a different place, right? I remember when Hocus 2 was filming, they filmed it in Rhode Island. They didn't film it in Salem, unfortunately.
That's right.
But like, you want to go down there and go see all the sites and stuff, or be involved. Again, it's just about being more involved in like the movie itself. It's kind of cool.
It is. It's very cool. So yeah, unless you live in LA, you can't really go to a place every single day to see a movie, really, right? So
that's I always tell people, because I hate the heat. I hate the heat. I don't like LA as a city. But if I lived there, every single day I'd be going to visit horror movie or just vacations, everything. Lost Boys, Friday 13th, or Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween.
I can't wait to go back to Pasadena, because I went to Pasadena years ago, and I did it when I went to the Rose Bowl once. But I can't wait to go back and walk around downtown Pasadena again. It's amazing. So I have my work cut out for me. I have a lot of places I need to go visit that I still haven't gone to see that were on this list.
And they're making movies every day, man. Every day they're making movies.
So for those out there that are listening, you want to come see these great movies, of course. So JW, this was awesome to have you talk. I could talk about this stuff all day, but very cool. So where can everyone find all the cool stuff you're writing and stuff you're talking about?
You're going to want to go to oddthingsi'veseen.com. That's the hub for all my work. Lots of free stuff to read, but also, that's where you can learn about my books, appearances, whatever I'm doing. Oddthingsi'veseen.com.
Very cool. All right. And everyone, where to find us, of course. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Come and like us and review us and all that subscribe stuff. And at The Scary Movie Project, thescarymovieproject@gmail.com. Email us. Did we miss some cool movie that we forgot about? Are you the person that owns the well from Marblehead, Massachusetts? If you are, please let us know. We want to see it. But anyway, so road trip stuff to go look at. This is very cool. Thank you for your time for this, and I really appreciate this. And we'll do something again. But until next time, folks, remember, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
The Scary Movie Project podcast. Learn more at thescarymovieproject.com.